I would like to cut a promo and welcome you all to this video, but I'm not in a good mood and I'm very tired from the daily chores. And so in this video, we'll be dealing the portion form class words, because for tomorrow I have a seminar on the topic form class words from English grammar. So I think I haven't practiced it, so I have to take it in English, and I'm actually not very confident in communicating in English, or I mean in teaching, in expressing in English. So I don't know if I'm going to post this on YouTube. I'm just shooting it. Okay, so my topic is form class words. So before going to form class words, I would like to begin with introducing the basic unit of language. So English as a communicating language, or a language used for communication by billions of people around the world. English, the language basically is used for the main purpose is communication. So English is a language used for communication, and we can say that the phonemes or the speech sounds in English is the basic unit, or that what makes the language a language. The basic unit beyond the level of the alphabets, the very basic unit of the English language can be said as the sounds or the phonemes in the English language. And there are 44 speech sounds in our English language. And these 44 speech sounds, we have learned that it is classified into different varieties as long vowels, short vowels, diphthongs, consonants, etc. And these 44 speech sounds are represented in written form or in syntax as the 26 alphabets of the English language. So these 44 speech sounds or the phonemes of English language are represented as the 26 alphabets of the English language. And similarly, as we see in the English phonemes, which was divided into two as consonants and vowels, these English alphabets are also, these 26 alphabets were also divided into two as the vowels and as consonants. The A, E, I, O, U, these five alphabets are the vowels, and the rest 21 alphabets are classified as the consonants. And these things, these minor things, this we learned from our school or the primary classes. And my topic is, as I already acknowledged, that it is form class words. So before going to form class words, I would like to ask a question: what is word? What is a word? Okay, you may answer that words are a group of letters. Okay, so my question is, does all group of letters make up a word, or can we call a group of letters as a word by itself? No. So a group of words, what I am saying is, a group of letters can be two types. First one is a simple, meaningless, unreadable group of letters, and the second one is a word. Okay, for example, we take the words or the letters W-O-R-D. Okay, so W-O-R-D. If placed in the correct order, we can call it as a word. Okay, so W-O-R-D, these four letters, this group of letters, if placed in the correct order, we can call it as a word. If we place it in a different sequence, like D-O-W-R, we can't read it. Okay, so in order for a group of letters to be called or as a word, it should have some principles. And which are they? It should be readable. Okay, we can't read D or WD. Okay, or anything like that. So in order for a group of letters to be considered as a word, it should be readable. And second thing, it should have a sense or a meaning. So a group of letters can be a group of letters or a word. If a group of letters does make a meaningful, readable, and if it is in the correct sequence, if the letters in the word is correct sequence, we can call it as a word. Okay, so that is the that makes what a word is. Okay, so now let's go on to our topic, classification of words, that is form class words. So in English language, as we have told that our English language has 44 phonemes and 26 alphabets, and there are numerous types or classifications of words in English language, such as noun, pronoun, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, etc., etc. Okay, so there are many types of words in our English language. So what makes form class words form class words? Okay, so that's the question. So when we classify all these or when we group all these different types of letters into two, we classify them as one form class words and the other function class words. And these form class words include the four major types of words that are noun, pronoun, adjective and adverb. Okay, so the nouns, the adjectives, the adverbs and the verbs. These four types of words in English are classified as the form class words. So today, as I have told you earlier, I don't think I'm going to post this in YouTube, but still, I'm just going on. I'm just trying a practice section because tomorrow I have a seminar in this very topic, and for that seminar I have form class words and also auxiliary verbs as part of the verbs section. The auxiliary verbs are actually part of the function class words, but for the seminar I'll be taking this function class words topic, the auxiliary verb also along with the form class words. Okay, so form class words and auxiliary verbs, that's my topic for tomorrow. Tomorrow means in my college. Okay, so form class words. These form class words are also called as open class words or content words. Okay, so these form class words are also called as open class words or content words, and I am saying this on behalf of this textbook. Okay, this textbook is preferred for the semester 2 BA English students. We have learned this text and we have graduated in this very topic. So I know these things, but it's kind of a bit. I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm not very used to communicate in English. Okay, so bear with me. I apologize for any mistakes. Anyway, so these form class words are also called as function class words, and I had told you that there are four major types of words in form class words, being noun, verb, adjective and adverb. So what is a noun? Okay, I think in our school years we learned or we started learning this grammar in English from the nouns. Okay, so what are nouns? Naming words are called as nouns. You can see me sweating because the fan makes a lot of noise and it will be very disturbing to the viewers in this video. So I'm not very nervous, but yes, I'm a bit nervous, but the sweat is not from that. It's very hot in this room, and the light is also giving me trouble. Anyway, so what is noun? The naming words are called as noun. It could be anything. Okay, it could be name of anything, anyone, any place. Okay, so these nouns are of 6 types. So we said that the name of a person can be, or a noun can be a name of a person, a name of place, a name of a thing, etc., etc. So these nouns can be classified into 6. As first one, proper noun. So what is proper noun? Okay, so simply saying, proper noun is a name given properly to that specific thing. Okay, for example, my name is Libran. Okay, so if I call someone else Libran, they won't listen because it's my name, and they will have their own other name. Okay, or this channel is NGC Online. If you search for NGC Online, you will reach this channel. But if you search for any other channel, you will reach that channel. So there are some proper names for proper things. Okay, there are some names that represent some specific things, and such names that can be the names of person, name of place. If I am calling for Chidra and someone asks me the way to Chidra and I am giving them the way to Kadakal, it will be entirely different places. Okay, so each place or each person has their own name, their proper name. Okay, so the words or the nouns or the naming words that are given properly to that specific person, or we can say like that. Okay, so such words or such names are called as proper noun. Example, my own name, my Libran, or NGC Online, or Chidra, Kadakal, Kollam, etc. So this name of place, etc. Okay, if this is a pen. Okay, this right here is a pen, and if I am naming this pen Skylark. Okay, if I'm naming this pen Skylark, and if I have another pen and that pen is not Skylark, okay, so this the name of this pen is Skylark. So Skylark, the name Skylark represent this pen. Okay, it is the proper name of this pen. So such words that are used to properly specify one name or one person or a place, etc., is called as a proper noun. I don't think you are getting this, but I told you it's just a practice for me. Okay, you don't have, please don't take this class seriously. It's just a practice, it's just a time pass for me. Okay, I'm just I don't think I'm going to publish it, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm a bit crazy, so I might publish it, but I don't think I will. Okay, so first one is proper noun. So what are nouns? Naming words are called nouns. And what are proper nouns? The names given to a certain place or a person or a thing or an object can be called as a proper noun. Okay, and second type of noun is the common noun. Okay, the common noun, when we write a common noun in a sentence, always the first letter of the common noun is capitalized. When we write a proper noun in a sentence, always the first letter of the proper noun will be capitalized. Okay, and second type of noun is common noun, and when we write a common noun at the beginning of a sentence, the first letter of the common noun will be capitalized. And what are common nouns? The names that are given to things in common. Okay, so I am a teacher and you are student. Okay, all those who use this video for the education, they all are students. They are commonly called as students. So such names, common names. Or if this is a pen. Okay, this is a pen. This thing is commonly called as a pen. So such common names are called as common nouns. So the first type of noun is proper noun, which is a name given properly to a specific object or a person or a place or a thing. And second one is the common noun, which is a name given to a common object, okay, or a common animal or a common thing. Okay, and the third type of noun is abstract noun. So what is abstract noun? It is name given to an intangible. That means something that we can't touch or we can't take with our hands. Okay, it could be an idea, it could be a quality, it could be a mentality. Okay, for example, Gandhianism, Marxism, or if I am telling that you are very beautiful. Okay, so your beauty is your quality. I can't show that this much is your beauty and this much is your other qualities. So okay, so these things, these abstract things or these intangibles which I can't, or which not only me, nobody can pinpoint, or nobody can take and show, or nobody can touch, but it is there. It could be a quality, it could be a mentality, it could be an ideology, etc. Okay, so these things, these names of these intangibles are called as abstract noun. Okay, so this is called as abstract noun. And the next one is collective noun. Okay, so what's collective noun? It is a name given to a group of people or animal. For example, a fleet of ship. Okay, it is ship is an object. Anyway, a fleet of ship. Okay, a fleet of ship, or a family. Okay, a family, or an audience. Okay, an audience. Audience means what? A group of people that are gathered to watch or to enjoy a specific performance. Okay, so that is a audience, or a mob. Okay, a crowd. So these words that represent a collection of people, things or objects is called as a collective noun. The words used to represent a collection is called as a collective noun. Okay, so the next type of the fifth type of noun is verbal nouns. So these verbal nouns are also called as gerunds, and these verbal nouns are words that are formed from a verb, but now it is used as a noun so that it does not retain any properties of the verb. Okay, so these are actually verbs, or these are words that are derived from a verb, which is used as a noun, and so because it is used as a noun in the sentence, it does not retain any properties of a noun. For example, in the sentence he is laughing. Okay, in the sentence he is laughing, laughing is the verb, or okay, so laughing is the work or the action done by the person. Okay, so he is laughing. Here laughing is the laughing is a what? Laughing is a verb. Okay, so if we change the sentence into laughing is a healthy habit. Okay, the first sentence says he is laughing, where laughing is used as a verb, and we change the, or we take that verb and we add into another sentence, or we make another sentence which is laughing is a healthy habit. Here the name of the healthy habit is laughing. Okay, the name of the healthy habit is laughing. So here the verb laughing is used as a noun or as a name of the healthy habit. Okay, so such words or such nouns that are used or that are derived or that used to be a verb but that does not retain the properties of a verb because it is used as a noun is called as a verbal noun. So these are words that are actually used as verbs, but now it is used in the context of a verb, in the context of a noun, so it does not retain the properties of a verb. So these words that are derived from a verb but is used as a noun is called as verbal nouns or gerunds. Okay, so that is the fifth type of noun. And finally, the last type of noun is compound noun. So what is a compound noun? A compound word we know. Okay, what is a compound word? If two or more words join together to form a bigger word or to form a new word, it is called as a compound word. So similarly, in a compound noun, if two or more words join together to form a name or a noun, it can be called as a compound noun. For example, the blackboard. Okay, blackboard. Black means it's the name of a color, and board means a board. So when these two words black and board join together, it gives the name blackboard. Okay, so such words, blackboard, board of exams, matchbox. So matchbox, I don't think matchbox matches. That rhymes, like matchbox matches. Okay. Anyway, so I think you get the idea. Okay, so these words that when two separate nouns or when two separate words join together to form a new noun or new name, then it is called as a compound noun. So what are nouns, or what are form class words? Form class words means form class words include the noun, verb, adjective and adverb. They are also called as open class words or content words. And these nouns are called, or these nouns are naming words, and they are of 6 types. First one, the proper noun. Second one, the common noun. Third one, abstract noun. Fourth one, collective noun. Fifth one, verbal noun. And sixth one, the compound noun. Okay, so now moving on, these nouns are also divided into two on the basis of the countability or the property of count, or the property or this countable property of the word. Okay, so these nouns, if for example a noun tree, okay, the word tree, okay, we can count a tree. Okay, we can say that there are few trees, or there are 2 trees, there are 10 trees, etc. Okay, and let's take another example, salt. Okay, salt, the powder like salt. Okay, so we can't tell that there is 6,000 particles of salt in that. Okay, we can't say that. So these words or this difference allows us to classify the nouns into two as countable nouns and second one uncountable nouns. So as the name suggests, if the noun is countable, it is called countable nouns, and if the noun is uncountable, then it is uncountable noun. And furthermore, we can also classify these nouns on the basis of the gender of the noun. If, for example, when we take the word king, okay, so the king, the word king, the noun king is used to represent a male person, okay, or a male person. Okay, so king is a male gender, okay, and queen is a feminine gender. Okay, so there are two genders, masculine gender and feminine gender. If the word, or if the animate noun is a male, it comes under the masculine gender, and if the animate noun is female, it comes under the feminine gender. And then there are the inanimate objects like the pen, pencil, paper, ring, etc. So these inanimate objects does not have a gender, and hence they are called as neutral gender, or they are classified under the neutral gender. Okay, so what are nouns? Nouns form up the major part of the form class words. Nouns are naming words. There are 6 types of nouns, being proper noun, common noun, abstract noun, collective noun, verbal noun, and compound nouns. And nouns can be classified into 2 on the basis of the countability, and there are countable nouns and uncountable nouns. If the noun is countable, it is called as countable noun, and if the noun is uncountable, it is called as the uncountable noun. And on the basis of the gender, we can also classify nouns into 3 as masculine gender, feminine gender, and neutral gender nouns. Okay, so that is the classification of nouns in form class words. Now moving on, let's talk about verbs. Okay, so verbs are action words. Okay, so action words are called as verbs, and the verb is very important in a sentence, because the verb is the heart of a sentence. We can say that a verb is a heart of the sentence. A sentence, in order to be this word can join together to form 4 type of things. First one, meaningless group of words. That is like we said that said in the example of words, like if the arrangement is wrong, or if some types or some fundamental properties is missing, then we can't tell that this group of words make a meaningful sentence. These are just then it will be like just a group of words. Okay, that does not make any sense. That does not make any sense. They are just group of words. And then there is sentence, phrase, and clause. Okay, sentence, phrase, and clause. And in order for a group of words to become, or to be called, or to be acknowledged as a sentence, there should be a verb in it. So that is the most important part. There should be a subject and there should be a verb, and object. In most cases there will be an object, but even though if there is no direct object and no object and no direct subject, there will always have a verb in a sentence. The verb makes the sentence a sentence, so it is that much important. And not only that, the first verb in a sentence denotes the tense of the sentence. Okay, the first verb in a sentence represents the tense of the sentence. Okay, so what are these verbs? These verbs are actions. Okay, so the action of a speaker, that can be physical or mental. Okay, like mental actions can be like thinking, okay, or what, dreaming, etc. Okay, so thinking, dreaming, etc. These can be called as mental actions, that are psychological actions that takes place in the mind of the person. And then there are physical actions, like to drink, to walk, to sit, to speak. Okay, these are physical actions. And then there are the verbs that express a state of being. Example, is, was, were, has, have, etc. Okay, so these words represent the state of being. Or the okay, we'll discuss that in the topic of auxiliary verbs. Okay, so the major importance of a tense or of a verb is the verb indicates the tense in a sentence. Second one, the number of person or the noun will change the verb in present tense. For example, The girls go out for jogging every day and the girl goes out for jogging every day. If the number of subject changes, if there are more than one person in the subject, then the tense of the verb changes. Okay, another example, I walk every day and he walks occasionally. Okay, the person changes the structure of the verb. And the next is the voices, that the two voices, active and passive, affect the verb in a sentence. In passive voice, the verb has a passive auxiliary and an ed added to the main verb, which means, for example, let's take the sentence, the little girl opened the door. Okay, the little girl opened the door, which is a sentence in active voice. If we change this sentence into passive voice, it will change to, let the door was opened by the little girl. Okay, the door was opened by the little girl. The sentence in active voice was, the little girl opened the door, and when we change this sentence into passive voice, the sentence will change into, the door was opened by the little girl. Okay, so here we see that when the voice changes, when the voice of the sentence changes from active to passive, the main change happened to verb is that there is a passive auxiliary was and an ed suffix added to the verb open. Okay, the open is the verb here, and there the passive auxiliary was added, and also the suffix ed was added. So the voice of the sentence, or the change in voice of the sentence, affects the verb. When a sentence changes from active voice to passive voice, the verb, or there will be a passive auxiliary and an ed suffix added to the verb in the sentence. Okay, and when we talk about verbs, we often remember that in our school we have learned about the three types, or the three forms of verbs, which are the simple form, or the simple present form, past form, and past participle form, or the V1, V2 and V3. Okay, so on the basis of the V1, V2 and V3, or the simple form, or the the simple present form, the past form and the past participle form, verbs can be divided into two as regular and irregular verbs. Okay, so on the basis of the simple past, simple present, simple past and past participle form of the verb, or the V1, V2, V3 forms of the verb, these verbs can be divided or classified into two as regular and irregular verbs. Okay, so in irregular verbs, there is dissimilar form of simple past tense and past participle. Okay, that is, the V2 and V3 will be different in irregular verbs. And if the V2 and V3, or the simple past form and the past participle form, is the same, then these verbs can be called as regular verbs. Okay, so irregular verbs have dissimilar forms of simple past tense and past participle, and these verbs are also called as strong verbs. Okay, these irregular verbs can be also called as strong verbs, and if the verb has the same simple past and past participle form, then it is called as regular or weak verbs, or are called as if they have the same simple past and past participle form, then it is called as the regular verbs. Then it is called as the regular verbs. And in the case of some regular verbs, the simple present form will also be the same as the simple past and the past participle forms. Okay, so that is the classification of verbs into as regular and irregular verbs. And then comes the transitive and intransitive verbs. For example, in a sentence like, he drinks milk. Okay, he drinks milk. Here the subject is he, the pronoun he. The verb is drinks and the object is milk. Okay, so in the sentence, he drinks milk. The subject is he, the verb is drinks, and the object is milk. Okay, so in this sentence, the verb drinks connects the subject with the object. Okay, it shows, the verb shows the relation between the subject he or the pronoun he and the object milk. Okay, so if a verb in a sentence does show the relation between the subject and its object, it is called as a transitive verb. Okay, in a sentence, if the verb shows the relation between the subject and the object, then such a verb can be called as a transitive verb. And if it does not, for example, in the sentence he goes, there is a subject, there is a verb, but there is no object. Okay, so in this sentence there is no object, so the verb does not show the relationship between the subject and object. So such verbs that does not show the relation between the subject and the object can be called as the intransitive verbs. Okay, if the verb shows the relation between the subject and the object, it is called as a transitive verb. And if the verb does not show the relation between the subject and the object, then it is called as an intransitive verb. Okay, these transitive and intransitive verbs may differ on the basis of the sentence and context. Okay, so that is our major topic on verb. So we have talked about nouns, and then we moved on to verb. And even though my topic is form class words, let's just visit the function class words, the section auxiliary verbs. Okay, so the auxiliary verbs is also called as the supporting verbs and form a major part of the group of verbs. Okay, so these auxiliary verbs are also called as supporting verbs, and they form a major part in the group or in the classification or in the whole union or a whole set of verbs. Okay, so in English language, but they are grouped under function class words as they are, like any other function class words, functional in nature. Okay, even though these auxiliary verbs are very important part of the section of verbs which is a form class words, they are considered as a group, or they are classified in the section of function class words because, like any other function class words, they are also functional in nature. They does not come in a basic sentence. They have a function to fulfill. Okay, they basically help the main verb in the sentence formation by assisting them to indicate the different person, number, mood, voice, and tenses. So the function of a auxiliary verb is to assist the main verb in expressing the context in or in giving the clarity to the sentence. Okay, they assist the main verb to give a better clarity to the sentence. Okay, so they always come before the main verb, and another specialty of this auxiliary verb is that they always precede the main verb, and all questions carry at least one auxiliary verb. Okay, all interrogative sentences, all questions will have at least one auxiliary verb. Okay, so these auxiliaries are used in question tags, and if there is more than one auxiliary in a sentence, the stress falls on the first one. For example, he must have left his bag behind. Okay, he must have left his bag behind. Okay, so he must have, the stress falls in the first auxiliary verb if there is more than one auxiliary verb present in a sentence. Okay, so if there is more than one auxiliary verb present in a sentence, the stress is given to the first auxiliary verb in the sentence. And what is the function of a verb? The first verb in a sentence indicates the tense of a sentence. And if there is more than one auxiliary verb in a sentence, the stress is given to the first auxiliary verb in the sentence. I hope you are following. Okay, so, and there are two types of auxiliary verbs. These auxiliary verbs can be divided into two types. First one is the main auxiliary verbs. The some auxiliary verbs function both as main verbs and auxiliary verbs. Okay, so there are some auxiliary verbs that function as main verbs and also as auxiliary or the supporting verbs, or that support the main verbs. Okay, they are, first one, is, am, are, was, were. Next is has, have, had, and then do, does, did. Okay, the different forms of be, that is, am, are in present tense and was or were in past tense. And then we have the different forms of have. In present tense we have has or have, and in past tense we have had. And then comes the different forms of do. In present tense there is do and does, and in past tense we have did. Okay, and some others can function only as supporting verbs, and they are called as modal auxiliaries. Okay, so there are two classification in the auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs, first classification is that this auxiliaries that function both as main verbs and as auxiliary verbs, depending on the context of the sentence, or depending on the position in the sentence. Okay, and then comes the modal auxiliaries, and the peculiarity of modal auxiliaries is that they does not function as a, or they cannot be used as a main verb. They are always functional. They are always used as auxiliary verbs alone. And these are called as modal auxiliaries. For example, will, shall, would, should, can, could, may, might, must, ought to, need, dare. Okay, so these are the modal auxiliaries. Okay, so that is the topic of auxiliary verbs. Okay. So in the beginning we talked about nouns. There are 6 types of nouns, and we classified in detail about these 6 types of nouns. And then we moved on to verb. The verb is very important part of a sentence. It can be considered as the heart of the sentence itself. And the first verb in a sentence indicate the heart of the tense of the sentence. Oh my God, I'm missing out. Okay, so the first verb in a sentence indicate the tense of the sentence. And then we said that there are verbs are very important, and there are a few classifications of verbs. If a verb, if the past form of the verb and the past participle form of the verb is the same, then it can be called as a regular. And if the past and past participle form of the verb is different, then it is called as irregular verbs. And when using in a sentence, if the verb can show the relationship between the subject and object, then it can be called as a transitive verb. And if the verb fails to show the relationship between the subject and the object, then it can be called as a intransitive verb. And then we moved on to auxiliary verbs. So there are some verbs that are functional in nature, and these functional verbs are called as auxiliary verbs. And these auxiliary verbs are divided into 2 types based on the nature or their properties. And the first classification is of these auxiliary verbs that on different occasions they can function both as the main verb and also as the auxiliary or the supporting verbs. And the main importance of an auxiliary verb is that in every question there will be at least one auxiliary verb. And in a sentence, if there are more than one auxiliary verbs, then the first auxiliary verb is the stressed one. Okay, the first auxiliary verb will be the stressed auxiliary. Okay, and then we talked about the different forms or different auxiliary verbs. The first classification that are of the auxiliary verbs that can be used both as auxiliary and as main verbs, which are first one, the different forms of be, that is in present tense is, am, and are, and in past tense they are was or were. And the different forms of have, in present tense they are has or have, and in past tense there is had. And the different forms of do, that is in present tense do and does, and in past tense that it is did. Okay, and then comes the modal auxiliaries. These modal auxiliaries, they can never function as a main verb. There will always be a supporting verb. So they will always be supporting verbs, and hence they are called as modal auxiliaries. And modal auxiliaries include will, shall, would, should, can, could, may, might, must, ought to, need, and dare. Okay, so these are the auxiliary verbs. So that's the topic on auxiliary verbs. And now now let's move back to our topic, form class words. And we covered the topic nouns, and then we covered the topic of verbs. And now let's move on to the topic of adjectives. Okay, so let's move on to the topic adjectives. So what are adjectives? An adjective is a word that qualifies a noun and certain pronouns. A word that qualifies a noun or certain pronouns. If I am using the word sweet, okay, she sings a sweet song. Okay, she sings a sweet song. Or the big box contains books. The big box contains books. Okay, here adjectives are usually used in two positions within a sentence. They may occur before or after the noun that they qualify. Okay, so to identify an adjective, let's just look at the noun. An adjective is usually used just before or just after the noun, and they are used to detail, or they are used to give some additional information about the noun. They are used to qualify the noun or pronoun in the sentence. Okay, so the big box contains books. Okay, so here the word big is used to qualify or used to express a quality of the noun box. Okay, so the sentence, the big box contains books, or only a paltry few volunteered to donate their hair for wigs. Let's just leave that example. Okay, so adjectives are usually used in two positions within a sentence. They may occur before or after the noun that they qualify. The ones that appear before a noun are called attributive adjectives, and those that appear after a noun are called predicative adjectives. So adjectives are those words that are used to qualify a noun or pronoun, and they can be found just before or just after a noun. And if the adjective is found just before the noun, it is called as attributive, and if it appears just after the noun, it is called as predicative adjectives. Okay, and when moving on to the types of adjectives, there are 7 types of adjectives in English language, and they are the adjectives of quality, demonstrative adjective, possessive adjective, participial adjective, adjective of quantity, compound adjective, distributive adjective. Okay, so these are the 7 major types of adjectives. So first one, the adjective of quality. It is used to, as the name suggests, it is used to qualify the quality of the noun. For example, smart boy. Okay, smart boy. The noun is boy, and the quality of the boy is that he is smart. So in the word or in the sentence smart boy, the word smart is used as an adjective to the noun boy. Another example is pretty picture, delicious dessert, heavy traffic, etc. Okay, in these sentences, the noun is qualified using another adjective, and this adjective that tells us about the quality of the noun is called as adjective of quality. And second type of adjective is the demonstrative adjective, and they are used to point out things that are being referred to. Okay, if I am showing you this pen, okay, I am showing you this pen, I am using the word this to point out to this pen. Okay, so such adjectives that are used to point out things are called as demonstrative adjectives. For example, this, that, these, those, such, same, etc. Okay, so these words that are used to point out objects or things is called as demonstrative adjectives. So the first adjective was adjective of quality, which is used to represent, or which is used to qualify the quality of an object or a thing. And the second one is demonstrative adjective, which is a word or an adjective used to point out a thing. Okay. And the third one is possessive adjective, which is used to show ownership. Okay. My, your, our, their, his, her, its. Okay. So these words similar to this and that, etc. These words are used to show the ownership or the authority upon a object. Okay. So these words that shows the ownership of the noun can be called as possessive adjective. For example, my, our, your, their, his, her, its, etc. Okay. Now moving on to the fourth type of adjective, it is participial adjective. Okay, these adjectives are formed by adding ing or ed or en to verbs. Okay, for example, illuminated corner. Illuminated corner. Okay, so in this sentence, the verb illuminate gets the prefix ed and makes it illuminated, which is an adjective to the noun corner. Okay, the verb illuminate gets the prefix ed added to it, which makes the verb an adjective to the noun corner. Okay, and next one is adjective of quality, and we can say other examples of participial adjectives like deserted street, sparkling water, forbidden city, etc. Okay, and the next type of adjective is that adjective of quantity. Adjective of quantity. Okay, the first one was adjective of quality, and now we are saying about, or we are talking about, the adjective of quantity. As the name suggests, they talks about the quantity of the noun. Example: much, many, little, some, enough, sufficient, simple, half, whole, quarter, few, etc. Okay, so these words are used to refer to the quantity of the noun, and hence these words that or these adjectives that are used to refer to the quantity of the noun can be classified as or can be called as adjective of quantity. Okay, and next one is compound adjective. Okay, so we earlier talked of. Anyway, so we already talked about the compound nouns. That what is compound nouns? If two or more nouns join together to form a new noun, then it is called as a compound noun. So similarly, in compound adjective, when two or more adjectives join together to form a new adjective, then it can be called as a compound adjective. For example, old-fashioned coat. Okay, both the words old and fashioned join together to form the adjective old-fashioned, which is used as an adjective to coat, the noun coat. Okay, so examples are old-fashioned coat, man-made fabric, a 5-page document, part-time worker, etc. Okay, in all these examples, the noun is given the adjective which is formed by joining two or more words. Okay, so these adjectives that are formed by the combination of two or more words can be called as what? Compound adjectives. And next one is distributive adjective. They are used to refer to each one of a group of people or thing. For example, either, neither, each, every, etc. Okay, they are distributive. They are used to refer to each one of a group or a collection. Example: either, neither, each, every, etc. Okay, so these are the different types of adjectives. Okay, there are 7 types of adjectives. Adjectives are words that are used to qualify a noun or pronoun, and these adjectives occur in 2 places in a sentence. And if the adjective is placed just before a noun, it is called as attributive adjective, and if it is placed just after an adjective, just after a noun, it is called as predicative adjective. And there are 7 types of adjectives. They are adjective of quality, demonstrative adjective, possessive adjective, participial adjectives, adjectives of quantity, compound adjectives, and distributive adjectives. Okay. Now these adjectives occur in 3 degrees. Okay, strong, stronger, strongest. Okay, elder, elder, eldest. So similarly, most of these adjectives occur in 3 degrees. That is the positive degree, comparative degree, and superlative degree. Okay, And these adjectives formed from proper nouns are capital letter. For example, the Indian national animal is the Bengal tiger. Okay, here the adjective Indian is formed from a proper noun. Okay, India is a proper noun. It is the name of a nation. Okay, so if the adjective is formed from a proper noun, then the first letter of the adjective is capitalized. And only the demonstrative adjectives this and that have plural forms, which is these and those. The rest of the adjectives do not take a plural form when used with plural nouns. Okay, when used with plural nouns. Okay, so only the demonstrative adjectives this and that have plural forms, which are these and those. And no other adjectives take a plural form when used with a plural noun. That last part, the plural noun part, is very important. And then the next point is, when more than one adjective is used before a noun, they are not separated by and. If the last two adjectives are name of colors, they are separated by and. Okay, a sentence can have more than one adjective, more than one noun, etc. And in a sentence with more than one adjective, the adjectives are not usually separated by and. And if the adjectives used ends with two names of colors, then there is a and added to the adjectives. Okay, for example, a smart young girl entered the room with black and white curtains. Okay, a smart young girl entered the room with black and white curtains. Another word is, a tall, robust salesman carried several white, gold and red saris. Okay, here many adjectives, so more than 2 or 3 adjectives are used in these sentences, and only the last two adjectives, which are name of colors, are separated by and. And when more than one adjective is used to modify a noun, they generally follow the sequence of number or quantity, quality, size or weight, and then color. So that is a sequence used to represent or used in writing the adjective in a sentence. Okay, first it will be the number or quantity, then it will be the quality, then the size or weight, and last it will be the color. Okay, then comes some special adjectives, which is little, a little, and the little. What's the difference? Little means nothing or no. A little means some, and the little means more than some. Okay, little means no, a little means some, and the little means a bit more than some but not much. Okay, and similar is the case with few, a few, and the few. Many, much, and many, a. Many is used with a good number of things, used with countable nouns. Many is used with countable nouns when there is a good number of things, and much is used with the uncountable nouns. Then is a good amount of where there is a good number of things. And many, a means several, which is followed by a noun and a verb in singular. Many, a is followed by a noun and a verb in singular. For example, many a woman juggles her different roles deftly. Okay, many a woman juggles her different roles deftly. Here the noun and the verb is in singular form, and so we can use many a, which means several. Okay, many a means several, and when we use many a, it is usually followed by a noun and a verb in singular. And other example is later, latest, latter, and last. Okay, later refers to an indefinite time in the future. Latest means to the most recent event. Latter means refers to the position or order, and last means the specific position or point. And then comes elder, eldest, older, oldest. Okay, so what's the difference between elder, eldest, and older, oldest? Elder is used with persons, members of the same family. Okay, elder is used with members of the same family. When we are talking Ram is elder than his brother Ramu. Okay, here if Ram and Ramu is members of the same family, then we can use the word elder. And eldest is used with persons or members of the same family in a comparative way. Okay, in a comparative, he is elder and he is eldest than him. Okay, so in a comparative way. And older is used for comparison of person or inanimate objects. For example, this pen is older than that bench, or that bench is older than that tree. Okay, or this classroom is older than that building. Okay, this classroom is older than that building. Okay, so when we are comparing two inanimate things or some person that are not family, we can use the word old, or its comparative degree oldest. Okay, comparative, not superlative degree oldest. Okay, so that is adjectives. And now let's move on to adverbs. Adverbs describe a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. So adverbs are used to describe a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. And adverbs also modify sentence by introducing an element of contradiction. For example, however, they cross the different paths of journey well. Okay, however, they cross the different patch of the journey well. And you will find that a lot of adverbs are formed from adjectives. Okay, so these adjectives and adverbs, they are almost similar. But an adjective modifies or qualifies a noun and pronoun, while the adverb qualifies an adjective or another adverb itself. Okay, and hence you will find that a lot of adverbs are formed from adjectives. For example, smart, smartly, equal, equally, loud, loudly, fast, fastly, etc. And when an adverb describes a verb, it answers how, where, when, or why the action took place. Okay, so we can identify an adverb from an adjective by the adjective will be always used just before or just after the noun, whereas the adverb describes the verb. It answers how, where, when, or why the action took place, or how the action took place. So that's the function of an adverb. Okay, so there are 12 types of adverbs. First one, adverb of time, which is used when to express when an action or event occurred. For example, soon, often, seldom, tomorrow, today, yesterday, etc. Second one is adverb of place, used to represent where an action or event happened. Example, here, there, everywhere, nowhere, etc. Third one is adverb of reason, which is used to represent why an action or event occurred. Example, because, since, for, so as, so that, etc. Next one is, the fourth one is adverb of manner, which is used to express how an action was done. Example, beautifully, strangely, quickly, well, carefully, like, as to, etc. Next one is adverb of frequency, that shows how often the thing happens or how often the action is done. Example, often, frequently, occasionally, rarely, barely, never, ever, seldom, etc. Adverbs of degree and quantity. Okay, adverb of degree and quantity, they are used to represent how much was done or in what degree it was done. For example, almost, enough, entirely, fairly, hardly, quite, only, rather, too, very, as well as, etc. Okay, here almost, barely, hardly, just, nearly, nearly, quite, and scarcely modify adjectives, other adverbs and verbs as well. Okay, and then comes the relative adverb. They are used to relate itself to the noun to join two clauses. For example, where, when, how, etc. So they are examples of relative adverbs. They relates itself to the noun to join two clauses. And next one is adverbs of comparison. They are used in pairs. Example, as well as, less than, more than, etc. Adverbs of contrast, they are used to establish a contradiction. Example, although, despite, though, etc. They are also adverbs that they are classified as adverbs of contrast. And then comes the adverb of condition, used to establish the uncertainty of an event. Example, if, unless, whether. Okay, so these are used to establish uncertainty of an event, and they are classified as the adverbs of condition. And next comes the question words. Okay, the question words that function as adverbs too. These question words function as adverbs also. Example, why, when, where, how, etc. And last one is the intensifiers used to intensify the meaning of adverb or adjective. Example, to, TWO, to alla, TOO, TWO. Okay, to, very, awfully, terribly, extremely, etc. So these adverbs are called as intensifiers. Okay, so moving on to the topic of where do we place adverbs. Okay, so we said that in an adjective, the adjective is always placed just before or just after the noun. If the adjective is placed just before the noun, it is called as attributive adjective, and if the adjective is placed just after the noun, it is called as possessive adjective. And so which and we also said that these adjectives and adverbs are somewhat similar, and that makes us question where do we place the adverb. Okay, so generally they are placed after intransitive verbs. Okay, so these adjectives or these adverbs are placed usually or generally after intransitive verbs, because these intransitive verbs does not have an object. We already told you. Okay, so generally these adverbs are placed after intransitive verbs. And for example, the children sang well. Okay, the children sang well, the bus came early, etc. Okay, and then however, if there is an object, the adverb is placed after it. Okay, the boys placed the match energetically. Okay, so if a sentence ends without an object, then the adverb is placed after the intransitive verb, and if the sentence does have an object, then the adverb is placed after the object. Okay, however, if there is an object, the adverb is placed after it. And then comes the adverb enough is placed after the verb. Okay, the adverb enough is placed after the verb. Example, Gopalan exists enough for a boy at his age. Okay, we don't shift the adverb to the end of the sentence. We just used it right after the verb in the sentence. Okay, so the adverb enough is placed after the verb, and the adverb only is placed next to the verb it modifies. It is placed before or after nouns or pronouns. Similar to the case of adjectives, the adverb only, O-N-L-Y, the adverb only is placed next to the verb it modifies. It is placed before or after the noun or pronoun. So between the noun and the verb, we place the adverb only. For example, the green pencils are only for her. The green pencils are only for her. Okay, the next point is the adverbs always, generally, usually. Okay, the adverbs always, generally and usually. Okay, these three adverbs, they are often used after the word not in negative sentences. Okay, so if the sentence is a negative sentence, then these three adverbs, always, generally, usually. Okay, they are generally used in used after the word not in a negative sentence. For example, they do not usually work on Mondays. Okay, though they do not usually work on Mondays. So the sentence, it carries the word not, so which makes the sentence a negative sentence. And in this sentence, the adverb usually is placed after the negative word not. Okay, this adverb is placed right after the negative word not in a negative sentence. Similar is the case with the adverbs always and usually. And the next point is the words generally, normally, often and usually are used after the subject for emphasis. Okay, so for emphasis, the words generally, normally, often and usually are used after the subject for emphasis. For example, Divya normally parks the car in front of the class. Okay, Divya normally parks the car in front of the class. Here the word normally, the adverb normally, is used right after the subject Divya to give emphasis to the point. And the last point of this video is adverbs of frequency are used after forms of the verb be, such as is, are, was, were, am, when they are used as the main verb. Okay, so when we talked about the auxiliary verbs, I already told you that there are some auxiliary words that can act also as main verbs, and if the forms of be, that is, am, are, was or were, etc. If these auxiliary words are acting as a main verb in a sentence, then in such a sentence the adverbs of frequency are used after the forms of the or these auxiliary words or that act as the main verb. Okay, I will tell you one more time. In a sentence, if the different forms of the word be, which is the auxiliary words is, am, are, was or were, okay, if these words or these auxiliary words are acting as the main verb in a sentence, then in such a sentence the adverbs of frequency are used right after the auxiliary verbs or these words. For example, she is very smart. Okay, she is very smart. In this sentence, is the auxiliary verb. Okay, she is very smart. Okay, so in this sentence, is the auxiliary verb which also acts as the main verb because there is no other verb in the sentence. So in such a sentence, the adverb of frequency, very, is used right after the main verb or the auxiliary verb is. And the example we can say is they were quite rude. Okay, they were quite rude. Okay, where is also the past form of past or were. Okay, so that's with the adverbs. Okay, so that was my topic for this seminar. I hope I might upload it to YouTube. I'm not sure. Anyway, if I am going to upload it to YouTube, please just let me know what you think about this. Okay, just give me some feedbacks and let me know what you think about this new style or this new format in this channel. Okay, so that's with this seminar, and I might come back with another seminar which is the Victorian age, which also is a topic of study for our MA classes, and let's see. Okay, so goodbye, and I think it's already 11 o'clock, so it's good night for today.